you're watching on the replay, welcome. If you're watching on YouTube, and welcome. Would you shout out where you're from so I could see where you're at? And my name's Frank D'Amato. Hi, Nicola. I'm the compassion coach. What I do on Periscope, welcome, Elias. I really, what to expect from me, I really help people talk about what they want in their life, what they're going for, and then identify what's inside them that resists that and holds them back from getting what they want in their life. So, and what I like to do is to go deep with people. I don't stay on the surface. Hey, Steven, all right. I like to go deep. So I'm not one of these coaches, guys who just come at you with positive sayings and stuff. I teach you how to really look at what the core issues are going on inside you, and that's what I do because that's what I love. Because what I believe is, if we look inside ourselves with compassion and curiosity, if we do that, hi from France, welcome. If we look inside ourselves with compassion and curiosity, our lives transform, and the lives of the people around us transform. So I'm going to show you, yes. Welcome. So what is holding you back from your first scope is just as a curiosity of the people who are here. Anyone has kind of on the fence about doing the scope? What's holding you back? This is about what's holding you back from your first scope and giving you some tools and a step-by-step process to help you get beyond whatever's holding you back in your life. But I'm using the example of your first scope. So is anyone on here right now not wanting to do a scope but not ready to do it, or been holding back? Or holding back in something in their life? Well, I'm going to tell you a little bit about, I'm going to give you the process, all right? Because before I signed on the scope, I was scared. I had fear, okay? So what was holding me back right away from doing this particular scope was fear. My heart was racing. Blessings for you, welcome. We're talking about getting past our inner resistance. And so I'm giving the example of when and if you think some people could be helped by this, hit that person button down there in the corner and hit share and share this up, and we'll all get on here. When I wanted to get on this scope, I had an intense amount of fear, right? So the question I asked that I'm going to ask you is, what's holding you back? So what was holding me back from doing the scope was fear. But it's really important to get specific. It's not just fear. Fear is kind of real general, it's real vague, it's real, broad. I could work with fear, but it's better to get deeper because I'm all about getting deeper. Hey, Chris, welcome. I'm all about helping you get deeper at the issue. So what's deeper? What's more specific about that fear? Well, the more specific fear that I had before I got on this scope was I was afraid I would make a fool out of myself. That was what the words that came to me. And that was very powerful. So really take a moment to, boom, wow, let that hit. What specifically is your fear? And those words that come to you of what you're afraid of is going to tell you a lot about what's going inside you. Because this is a part of you, right? This is a part of me. Making a fool out of myself is a part of me. Hey, Cetus, that's welcome. So the first thing to really take a moment to do is to acknowledge that this part of me that's resistant, that I might be frustrated with because I want to get on Periscope, I want to do this, and why do I have this fear of doing it, and I want to push it away. But really, that part of me, that energy is trying to protect me. It's trying to protect me from making a fool out of myself. So it's really actually on my side, okay? So that's the first thing to kind of get with, is that acceptance, it's curiosity. Well, why is it trying to protect me, right? To try to be self-understanding. So it's all a practice of self-understanding. So I'm scared of making a fool out of myself, so I get that. So now comes the deeper question. This is how I get deeper and really get to see what's going on inside me. I ask myself, when was the first time, and ask yourself this question, when was the first time that you felt that way? And this is a hard question to ask. It's going to hit right here, right? And with the first question, when I said to myself, when was the first time that I felt that I made a fool out of myself? And I had to sit, and I sat with that, right? And this is why it's real important to get specific, because I needed that specific sentence to get to the deeper level. And and I'll tell you the story that came to me. I was about, hey, vacuum, what's going on? Welcome. We're talking about resistance and how to get past our internal blocks to putting out a scope. And I started with talking about asking myself the question, what's holding me back from doing this scope, which just happened right before I got on here? And what was holding me back was the fear, and the very specific fear of, welcome Saji, the fear of that I'd make a fool out of myself. And that's very specific. It's important to get specific. And then I asked myself this question, the second question: when was the first time that I recall making a fool out of myself? And what came to me was when I was about 12 years old. I'll tell you a little story about where this came from me. And this just happened right before I hit start broadcast. I just went through this memory. I was 12 years old, and we used to all hang out on our block as kids. It was a kind of neighborhood thing. We would play softball, football, baseball, and it was cool. But then when we hit like 12, 13, it was time to like move off the block and explore the world. What's up, Jay Hustleman? And explore the world. And we went into this other neighborhood where there were more kids, and it was this whole social world there. And I remember and I was scared when I went over there. I was scared of how I was going to be accepted into this new social thing. I mean, there was like 20 or 30 kids, and they were older, and it was this whole, this preteen, teenage social world. And the first thing that happened was this older kid came up, and he just kind of tore me apart. He was just like, he was like sizing me up, like, who are you? What's going on? What are you about? And like, all that fear. And I remember I just felt like, I was collapsing into myself. Like this person was like overpowering me, and I was scared. And I felt like in that moment, I was exposed as weak or as unimportant. And that's what I kind of took on. And from that time on, when I was hanging out with those people in that social environment, I took on the posture of someone who was hiding in the back and really, really small, because I had felt like the first time I stepped out and introduced myself, I was seen as weak and made a fool out of myself. So, boom, there you go. I was like right there, and I was like with that feeling, like, okay, I'm gonna stick with that feeling for a moment, being aware that this fear that I'm feeling about getting on Periscope and hitting the button doesn't have anything to do really with Periscope. Because really, what's the fear about Periscope? Not a whole lot. But what's going on in me is this 12-year-old part of me that was wounded way back then, and that I'm still carrying that with me, you see? So now I get to make a choice at this moment. So at this moment, there's a way to just move through, because I've identified I've got a fear of making a fool of myself, and I've identified where that fear comes from. So at this point, I'm pretty good. I can just make a real clear understanding of what I'm experiencing right now in the moment. Is not about that. It's about the past. And I can kind of separate those two and say, you know what, I'm going to look at that later, and I know that about myself, and I'm going to move forward, and I'm going to hit the broadcast button, and I'm going to just do this scope, and I'm going to connect with some people, and it's going to be fine, and whatever comes up is going to be okay, because I've really identified what's going on with me, and it's really separated out from me. What's more is I've got this incredible opportunity now, see, because Periscope now, this has given me a gift of this incredible opportunity to get deeper. So the 4 people here, and the people that are still here, if you're liking this, hit some hearts, or if this is resonating with you. I'm curious, because it's hard to get feedback. Yeah, thank you. And I do want to connect with you. I want to offer, hey, Jay Musselman, right. So we're at this part of the process, but I told you guys I like to get deeper, and I want to give you a chance here, another tool at which you can get deeper. So we've really gone at this point where we've identified how we're protecting ourselves with our fear to keep me safe from making a fool out of myself. One, because that happened a long time ago, and I got this story running in the back of my mind. But now the question is, how do I heal that so that doesn't keep coming up? See, if I leave it there, that might just keep coming up and keep coming up. And every time I'll have to face that fear and go, okay, it's not my 13-year-old, I'm going to do it again. And I can do that. But the question is deeper. How do I just get rid of that altogether? How do I let go of that, right? So there's a way to let go of that. That stuff can be let go of. So this is awesome. And I haven't gotten a chance to do this work on myself, but this is my opportunity to move in that direction. So what I will do, and I would suggest you do, is to really get into a kind of quiet meditative space and go back to that time, that thing that came up, that first time you felt that way, that first time. So what I will do is go and kind of sit. Asia Love, welcome. And I'm talking about healing and how to go after what we want and get past our internal resistance, which always comes from some kind of core wound. And so this is really about using moving forward in our life to really grow and change and become more fulfilled and more full and awake and aware human beings. So I go back to that question of what was that experience, and I go back and I need to witness that experience. Now the important part of witnessing, it's like watching it from the outside. So I'm going to like watch a movie almost and go back to that time, and I'm going to do this later, where I'm going to go back to that time and watch the movie of myself at 12 or 13 from the outside. And I'm going to watch myself, and the important part is that I watch that movie of me from a space of compassion. Not from judging myself, not from wishing it was different, not anything, but just from a really compassionate, loving space towards myself. And really witness what that was like for me. So I really get what what the pain was for me, what that experience was like. Hey, welcome social media. Really witness what that pain was. And I'm really taking this process a whole step deeper. And really helping you so that you can do this on your own. It's not easy to do. Hi, yeah, great. So that's the healing process. So you can go in there. If you really witness that experience with compassion, you can help that part of yourself let go. Now, it's real important to be there with compassion and to really connect to yourself in that space. So I'm going to even say, when you're there watching the movie, make a contact with your younger self. Let that side of you know, hey, I see you. I see what you are going through, and I see what you went through, and I see how painful this was. Because I can tell you, it doesn't sound like an incredibly traumatic story of what I've told, of being kind of judged and rejected at 12 or 13, but it had a profound impact on me that carries me today and holds me back from doing the things I want to do in the moment. And the way I get to heal that is to witness it with that compassion. So really spending time and witnessing that, and then asking, this is a really key question. When I'm in that space and I've really witnessed it and I'm really watching it, asking myself and asking that part of myself, what did I take on? What did I believe about myself from that experience? And if I ask myself that question now, if from the experience of at 12 years old going to this new social group and getting, in my view, what I felt was rejected and judged and kind of put at the bottom of the social caste, what did I at that moment start to believe about myself and the world? And what I can come to right now and say to you is what I started to believe in that moment, the wound I took on, that I carried with me, was that when I show myself to the world, i.e. on Periscope, I will be put down in the social caste. I will be mocked. I will be seen as less than, and I will feel very bad about myself. So that's the truth that I took on in that moment when I took that on. So now that I recognize that, I could actually make a choice to say, I'm going to let go of that because I've witnessed it totally. And now I'm ready. Now once I've really seen my truth, I could let it go then. And then it changes. I mean, it changes to radically be gone. It's like night and day. It's an amazing process. So I'm gonna walk through this process with you. I'm really appreciative that you guys have stuck through the length of this scope. Thank you. Yeah, thanks. If anything you got out of this, hit some hearts or follow me and I'll follow you back. I'm new at this. I'm just practicing and it's very exciting. And I hope you guys are excited about it too. I want to recap what went on in this scope and who I am. So, as a compassion coach, I really like to help people and myself and other people really get deeper. How often do you think you all do this? I would love to be doing this every day. I'm trying to get something up here every day. And thank you for asking, Musselman. I really want to help people get deeper at the core issues of what's going on. I'm not a guy who stays on the surface and just tells you positive thinking. But, that's good. I'm not knocking it. But that's not my forte. My forte is if you want to get real deep so you don't keep coming into the same blocks. And when we heal these things, this affects all the areas of our life. Our relationships get better, our business gets better, our romantic relationships, friendships, family, all this stuff gets better because we become more integrated and whole people. So we use, and then the great thing is we also get what we want, right? I get to do a scope, and I get to be more successful on Periscope at the same time as I get to heal myself and connect better to the people in my life. Because when I have an opportunity to express and connect to compassion to myself, what that does for me in my life is I get to have more compassion for others. And when you have more compassion and curiosity for other people in your life, it's amazing. It really is. Because the things that used to bother you about other people before, they don't bother you quite so much anymore. The things, those pet peeves of things of people, they now become ways of connecting to people. Like, oh yeah, I know what that's like. I was there too, and I can connect to people. So my life becomes more and more about connection, but it all starts with the inner connection. I've got to get connected to who I am inside first, and then I connect to other people. And that's how I do it. So I know some people maybe work from the outside in, and that's okay, but that's not me. I connect from the inside, connect to myself, and then I can have great, intimate, deeply bonded, connected experiences with others. All right, I said I was going to recap. So what's holding you back from your first scope, or what's holding you back from taking your next step in your relationship or your next step in your business or whatever it is? So asking the question, what's holding you back, right? And a lot of times people stay on the surface. Well, fear, and that's a real common one, fear. Or shame. Shame more looks like, the sense of I'm not good enough. Well, it's feeling of I'm not good enough. So getting specific on what that message is that our brain is telling us. So in this case, getting specific. It's not just fear. It was the fear that I would make a fool of myself. That was my fear about getting on this scope before it started. Getting real specific. That's the one question. And then the second question is, when was the first time that I could recall feeling that way? And that will lead you directly back to what the core issue is for you that is holding you back in the present. And then you can go back, and once you know that, you don't even have to do the healing piece, because that will give you so much empowerment, because it will really put it about, hey, you know what, this isn't about other people, it's not about my fear of judgment, it's not about people judging me and me control, it's about me, and I got control over that. I have some agency over what's going on inside me. So that alone will give it to you, but I've also given you the step of, how do you get this deeper? How do I heal that so it doesn't keep coming back? So it doesn't stop being a repetitive hurdle that I have to leap over every day. I have to leap over it every day. I could learn how to leap over hurdles, but why don't we just get the hurdles out of the way and turn them into stepping stones so that we go higher and higher and higher? Well, I like that. I don't know where that came from, but I like that. So I'm going to wrap it up. Thank you for sticking on. I hope to catch up with you guys again, and I'm going to try and do these every day, or as much as possible, multiple times a day if I can. I love Scope. Thanks, guys, and have a great and empowered day.